Hey buddy, it's Peter, and this is the 2025 Yamaha Tenere. This is a bike that looks very similar to the last year's model, even though it has revised styling. If you just saw it in a showroom and you're not an expert on Teneres, you'd probably be like me and go, is that the new one? Is it not? But it's not just about revised styling. This is a bike that has been so popular and so good in its segment that you can't screw it up if you're going to revise it. And what Yamaha has done with this is pretty much address all of everybody's complaints about it, everybody's issues that they had with it, and address that in this bike. So this is going to be an interesting one because the 2025 Yamaha Tenere, it's a bike that in the past I kind of like reviewed and did, and you know, I'm not sure about it. But now with some of the updates, this is a bike that is very firmly placing itself into a broader market for the adventure segment in that sort of mid-displacement category. And I think it's going to appeal to a little bit more people simply because of some of the features. So let's get going with this review. So before we go too far, I want to thank McLean Sports for giving me complete access to their entire product line. I'm going to cover every single 2025 motorcycle that I can possibly cover, and McLean's is awesome. They bring their bikes in, they get me out here. This bike is actually sold, but they're getting me in here before it delivers just so that I can show you guys. So if you want to check bikes like this out, they're already starting to roll into McLean's. And if you're not local to McLean's and you just want to support the channel, obviously liking, obviously subscribing helps. But the best thing you can do to help this channel, which helps me give you more access and more information, is just watch the video to the end. Simple as that. All right, let's place this bike in a class. Like I said, it's that mid-weight adventure category. So to me, there's kind of sort of two ends to this. There's one side of the category, which is a better off-road bike. There's another side of the category, which is a more better on-road bike, but both have to be able to sort of handle that gravel road, you know, rough roads, that kind of thing, and both have to be able to tour, in my mind, to be in an adventure bike. This one is probably a little bit less equipped for touring, although some of that is kind of changing with this update, whereas other bikes, maybe the V-Strom is a little bit less equipped for off-road. That might be controversial. Maybe the Transalp is less equipped for off-road. Again, might be controversial. But to me, out of the mainstream brands, this one's probably the best suited to off-road, and none of that has changed for 2025, but they've made some tweaks. So let's start at the front wheel, look what we've got. We'll talk about some of the tweaks as we work our way through. We'll try to show you things the other videos aren't showing you, and we'll go from there. So this is the broken record portion of my review. If you've seen my videos before, you know I love to focus on the front wheel because it tells you about the manufacturer's intent for this bike. So we've got a lot of things going on here. First of all, you got a proper 21-inch wheel, so 90, 90, 21. That's what you want to see on any kind of adventure bike. It gives you a lot of tire options. People are going to say these are good, these are not good. Depends on what you want to do with them. I think if you're going off-road, most people put knobbier ones on this. For someone like me, this is probably all the off-road I need. On-road will be fine as well. It depends on how you ride. But again, tires are a real touchy subject, especially in the adventure bike market, so I'll leave that to you, but you should know that it's the proper size, 21/18 front and rear, so that's what you want in a dirt bike. Now, dual discs out front, not a single disc, that's again what you want to see. These ones are Brembos. Now, you know, I can't promise that these are like super sport Brembos. They're fairly small compared to, you know, something that you would see on like a full super sport, like the GSXR 1000 that we reviewed yesterday. But you do have Brembos, and that means that they, as far as manufacturer's intent, they're trying to give you quality brakes here. They're trying to give you the proper size. Of course, upside down forks. The suspension is just refined a little bit this year, retuned a little bit this year, different, a little bit slightly different linkage on the rear there as well. It is adjustable suspension, so all of that is just good stuff for what is already a good off-road bike. You can see the spoked wheels here, so if you've got the proper, you know, not the cast wheels that are going to be better for touring, but not as good, better as in lighter weight for touring, but not as strong for off-road. So you've got all the makings here of a quality off-road touring capable adventure bike. So good start. And the wheels, let's move back to the heart of this bike. So taking a look at the heart of this bike, this is what a lot of people did not want to change. It's the CP2 engine. This has been known to be very reliable. It's just got that character, the 270-degree crank. So everything about this is good, but they did revise it. They revised the intake funnels to give you a little bit different torque placement, a little bit, they say a little bit more torque, but it's probably just placing the torque in the right spot by the air intake, that kind of thing. They've also revised the clutch cover to give you a little bit more foot space there. All little things that have been pointed out in other reviews that aren't huge, big deals. But again, they've listened to what their customers are saying about how to make this bike better, and they've done that. So you end up with the same reliability. No real changes here, but a slight difference in torque, a slight difference in the shape of the casings here, but everything else is the same, and that's a good thing. That means it's reliable. Now, they have added electronic throttle. They have done some different things along the way. We're going to get to those as we go through. First thing I want to talk about, though, is these foot pegs here, because they're different as well. Let's take a closer look at them. All right, I placed the camera like this for a reason. This is sort of a strategic placement. First of all, it's hard to see on camera how big these are. It's, even just show you with my hands, but these are much larger than the typical adventure bike style or any bike style foot pegs here. So you do have the rubber here. Of course, those can be taken out, but even with them in, they've got some clearance in there, which is nice to have. If you keep them in, you get a little dirty, you've got sort of some area to clean that mud out of there. But of course, taking the rubber out, you have a big, solid foot peg. So you've got a good standing platform. That's what you're gonna want on an adventure bike. You can see also you still got the simple brake lever here, which is again got the teeth on there. So again, if that's going to get mud on it, it's not going to get slippery. And you can see in the shot, Brembo brakes on the rear as well. That's one thing that people forget is a lot of bikes, they throw Brembos on the front, they don't throw anything on the rear. So again, they've thought about what you're going to be doing with this bike. You're going to be, using the rear wheel to steer, so you want consistent braking ability to lock that rear wheel. The ABS is switchable with a switch, which is super helpful as well. So you can allow that rear wheel to slip both in traction control mode and in a ABS type mode. So again, all of this here is built to fit the character and the behavior of this bike, what you want to do with it. A couple other little changes here. Let's see if I can do it in the same shot here. Oh, probably not. You do have a slightly revised frame here. We're going to come out and do it in the same shot. This is terrible camera work. Usually I like to do a little bit more precise, but you have got your rear foot peg down here and a revised exhaust hanger there. So again, some complaints in the past, all addressed in this bike. So when approaching the 2025 Tenere, you still have what seems to be an intimidating bike. Now I'm about 6 feet tall, and you can see here, there's a lot of height over here. Even as I was pushing this bike around, and I push a bike around every single day in a showroom, this felt like a very tall bike. It didn't feel like it was going to be any better, but the fuel tank is lower and moved forward. So the center of gravity is brought down a little bit. You've still got some tall bodywork. You've got some tall handlebars here. And in the showroom, this does appear to be an intimidating bike. And I do think you have to be taller to ride this thing comfortably. You can be shorter, but you got to have some more skills. So let me jump across this new one-piece seat. We'll take a closer look at that in a second here. Jumping across here, what I find is, yes, I am tippy-toed, but it's not that intimidating. It always felt heavy, and it's still, there's still some weight on the top of this, but it doesn't feel that intimidating. Where it is intimidating is if you start to go off-road, you do have to recognize that if you park in a spot where there's a pothole by where your foot should go, it is going to be harder to reach. But although I can't flat foot, I do definitely feel a sense of balance, a sense of control when I can touch the ground on both sides. So again, being taller, you're gonna have to remember that it is something that you have to remember when you go off-road to uneven ground. It can be intimidating, but what you gain from that height is all of that off-road ability. You end up with that good ground clearance, you end up with good suspension travel, you end up with a bike that feels very in command as you're sitting on it. Now you can see here, even if I was taller than I am now, I've got a lot of leg room. Again, shorter riders, this is going to be a harder sell for you. You have to be confident and that kind of thing. But overall, we've got a new TFT display here. We've got some new drive modes. We're going to talk about all that as we move into the dash. But what is it like sitting here? Well, wind protection looks like it's going to be pretty good. You've got the windshield up to about there. You've got the hand guards here, which of course are not just designed to deflect air away. They're properly strong. It is plastic, so you can be stronger than that. But it does give you some proper protection if you were to set the bike down. I think if you were to drop it at speed, you may have to upgrade these kind of thing. But it does certainly give you a touring type feel in this riding position. Now the seat, although it's revised, it's a one-piece design. That's going to give you a lot of room to move around, especially come forward, move back, wherever you need to move. It's good for that. Comfort-wise, it's fine. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. It doesn't feel dirt bike-like, but it's not a touring seat either. So if you're thinking, hey, I want this for off-road, but I'm going to be touring as well, the seat is fine. It's good for off-road. It's fine for touring. It's not something that's exceptional in that way. But riding position, overall feel of this bike, it does not feel that heavy, even though it does feel a little tall still. So I honestly don't remember going from the old one to the new one. I haven't done that back to back, but the old one always felt a little bit intimidating. This, to me, doesn't feel all that intimidating. It feels less intimidating than I thought it would be to sit on that. So I think that's a good thing. Sort of a long-winded way of saying pretty good stuff. One of the big changes you're going to notice for 2025 is this new dash with a number of things. Now, I'm not going to do a full review of this dash, in part because the bike is sold and I don't want to change all the settings around, but I will give you the basic overview of it. Now, first of all, I want to say that this is much clearer in person. I can tell you that the green neutral light is very, very clear for me, and I'm having trouble getting it focused. Let's see if that helps a little bit, but yeah, it is clear and more precise in person for sure than it is on camera. So you've got a pretty clear, easy to read tack What I like about it is it's all evenly spaced out. That's just, to me, that makes more sense. It's kind of like we used to do with analog tachometers that sort of went around. You can tell at a glance roughly where you are, and that's good to have. Pretty clean view here. Again, it's the portrait style. So you do have some new switch gear here. We're going to show you a couple things down there. You got the odometer at the bottom. You can swipe back and forth here, or sorry, up and down, I guess, to go to trip 1, trip 2, trip CD, which is, oh, I can't remember what that means. Trip F, that's since fuel, instant fuel efficiency, average fuel efficiency, coolant is there, air temperature as well, and back to the odometer. So you've got all those features down there, and then you've got a number of other features here in the settings. So just quickly go to settings here, because there was one thing that was interesting. Maintenance unit, brightness, clock. There is a quick shifter thing that's kind of grayed out. Now this bike does not come with a quick shifter, but I honestly didn't check. Maybe Yamaha offers one as an accessory, so that's something to notice, that it is here in the dash, and then you can sort of reset all that. Now, the other thing I can do is on the right side controls, we'll show you all these controls in a second, I can hit the mode button here. So there's power 1, so it's a sport and explore power mode, and then of course you have your traction control and your ABS, and back to the power. Now there is a single switch on the dash just over to this side, we'll show you that in just a second, that allows you to take off those traction control and other things. So you also have themes, you can change the dash here, and then you have a number of features that you can connect to the app, Yamaha's app, to connect your phone, connect your messages, have turn-by-turn directions in here, have your music from your phone, weather information, and then back to settings. So there's a lot of information here that sort of wasn't there before that I think makes the bike more useful. Again, certain screens are very difficult to film. We're gonna try to zoom in again just to sort of show you. You can see that gear indicator says gear. All of this is much clearer here. If we can zoom in here, let's see if we can go. Tells you your power mode and your traction control. Again, really tough to film for whatever reason, but a very clear, easy to see display that I quite like. I think Yamaha did a good job with this, and I actually kind of appreciate this portrait style. I think they do a good job with that. So there is a 12-volt port over, sorry, that's not a 12-volt port, it's a USB-C port over here. So USB-C port, of course, you've got the handlebar here if you want to mount your phone, you've got the ability to mount stuff up there as well, but there's a USB-C port there, and then over on this side here, if I can just turn the handlebar a little bit, take a look down in the center of your screen-ish, you do have the ABS switch, so that's switchable ABS right there with a simple button, turn it on or off. Very simple controls up there. Let's take a look at the controls on the handlebars now. So Yamaha has these new controls here for 2025. You got the, it's sort of a gentle push. I don't know if you can sort of see me move that top piece. So that gentle push out there and pull in there for your flash to pass, and you're turning your high beams on. So again, not a huge movement there. And that is sort of rotated back to adjust. So it's not something your finger's gonna accidentally hit compared to your clutch lever there. And then you have here, these are not buttons here, but this is a joystick that you can move in any which way and push down to select. So that's how you're gonna move the menu around. Does make things very intuitive. This is sort of returning home or go back or returning to your home screen. And then you have signal lights that are self-canceling. So you can press in and then in again. So touching it in, just a few blinks, touching it in, and that locks it on. And of course they are self-canceling. So again, one notch, 2 notches. You can sort of see that down there as well. Then you have your horn and your hazard lights. Again, I like these controls. I think they're intuitive. They're all within easy reach. Maybe the high beam is a little harder to feel with leather gloves on or that kind of thing. But I think, again, you're gonna have a pretty good sense when you're driving at night whether your high beam's on or not, so I don't mind that too much. You can almost just jam your finger in there and it works. Now, on the other side, there is one more button. We'll show you that as well. Taking a look throttle side here with your brake, you also have those sort of a bit of a view of the protectors there, hand protectors. Again, solid plastic, not metal, but again, more solid than you would typically see compared to some. Start and kill switch right there, or start and kill switch right there. And then you've got the mode button here. This is where I was switching through those ride, the power and explore modes there, that mode button right there. So very simple to just change your power mode right here. And the other side is sort of digging into your menus and digging into other things. So power mode's right here, the ABS mode right beside your dash. The key driving modes are very easy to adjust and very easy to deal with. Now, we're gonna go wide out a little bit here. I'm gonna try to come down just a little bit here and just show you the suspension because it is revised and it is adjustable, and I don't think I'm on the right angle, but we're gonna try to show you anyways here. So there is an adjustment here. on the top of the fork and one just beyond, directly in line, that allows you to adjust the front forks, and that's the same on both fork tubes. Maybe we can see it on the other fork tube. It's hard to kind of film in here on this style bike, but you can sort of see that second screw there on the fork tube. So there is adjustable suspension. I want to make sure I pointed that out, that you could see it as well as hear me talk about it. Let's take a quick look at the front of this bike. Some slight minor redesign there that may help you pick out this bike from the older bike, and then we're going to talk about who this bike is for and why I think the improvements have broadened the appeal of this bike. So taking a look at the front here, you used to have the round LEDs. These are a little bit more squared off. They're a little hard to see in this video. There's some glare from the lights in the building here, but you can kind of see what's going on. They do look a little different in person, although I've seen pictures where they look a lot different, and then I see them in real life, and I think maybe they're not all that different there, but they are a little bit more squared off looking to the lights, and of course you can see the, oh, can't get the flash to pass to work unless the bike is actually running. One thing I do like about Yamaha is they do have the front marker lights as well. That gives you a little bit more width, a little bit more visibility on the road. So overall, quite nice lights. I like that. I think they work well. So who is this bike for? Well, first of all, I just want to share my bias before I get too far. For me, an adventure bike, the way I would ride it is I don't have a ton of off-road skill. I haven't grown up on dirt bikes, I grew up on road bikes. So what I want in an adventure bike is a bike that can take me long highway rides, and then anywhere I go, I've got a bike that's going to make off-road riding easier. So in many cases, I don't need something crazy off-road, but I do want something that just takes all the off-road trouble out of. What I think Yamaha's done with this bike is they've taken a bike that leaned more to off-road, and they kept it really good where it's good, but they broadened the appeal a little bit. The power mode's there, that switchable ABS, the dash, all those types of things that, you know, you kind of like the simple to use controls, all that. Those are all good for touring, but make really no difference on the road. I do think that matters. Having the electronic throttle is going to open up at least the aftermarket ability to throw a cruise control on there. So that's going to be something that will probably be available in the aftermarket. The quick shifter was not something I knew about. It looks like this bike is able to accept one, probably from Yamaha's accessories. So all of those things, I think, help make it a better on-road bike without sacrificing any of the off-road stuff. So if you've always liked the Tenere, again, one of the complaints was it was intimidating. It still feels intimidating because there's a lot of height here, but jumping on it, other than the height, it does not feel super top heavy to me. Now, again, it's still an adventure bike. It's going to feel a little bit different, but I do think that the lighter weight of this bike compared to some competitors, you know, and the slightly revised positioning of that weight, you still feel like this bike isn't all that intimidating when you're jumping on it. So what is the 2025 Tenere in my mind, and who is it for? If you always love the Tenere, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't also love this one. It's going to do all the off-road things you want, but I do think it's just moved slightly to a broader appeal to allow people who are going to ride this a little bit more on the road, or who want something that's still pretty good on the road. It gives you a few more road-going features that are also going to benefit you off-road. And again, that intimidation factor, being able to switch the ride mode very quickly and easily, being able to switch the ABS on quickly and easily. For someone who's not super experienced off-road, being able to turn that back on without thoughts, without having to go through menus, good stuff. And again, a little bit overall revised positioning here, like, so again, the clutch cover, everything feels good about this bike. You can stand on it easily, you've got foot position, everything to me makes it simple, even if you're not the most experienced rider off-road, and it's going to be far more capable off-road than even many experienced riders will ever need. This is a very good bike. Definitely should be on your list if you're going to be doing that adventuring, especially if a lot of your adventure stuff is off-road. This is a great, great deal still today in 2025. So there you go. There's my review of the Yamaha Tenere 2025 model year. And we'll have a lot more coming up. There's a V-Strom sitting here. We're going to be filming that soon. So all 2025 stuff coming up. Thanks everybody for making it this far in the video. We'll catch you in the next one.